Chapter 9. The Keys to Entrepreneurship. As we saw in the previous chapter, 74% of self-made millionaires in America are entrepreneurs. Consequently, entrepreneurship, starting your own business, is your most likely route to financial success. You need several things to start your own business. The first is competence. You must be very good at what you do. People will only buy from those who they feel can serve them better than anyone else. You must take it as a personal affront if somebody says that your competitors' products or services are better than yours. Concentrate on joining the top 10%. Concentrate on becoming excellent at what you do. The second key to starting your own business is customers. Your first job is to get a customer. Your second job is to get a customer. Your third job is to get a customer. Your job is to get customers all day long and never take your eye off the customer ball. Customers are the key to business success. As I've said, successful companies have high sales, and unsuccessful companies have low sales. All else is commentary. The third C is cash flow. This is the life of the business. Successful business people think about their cash flow all the time. I know exactly, to the penny, how much comes in and out of my business every single day. I have a complete report on where all the money is every single day. I have a complete report of every sale and every dollar from every sale, every expense, and every bill every single day. I keep eyes on the cash flow as a doctor would keep their hands on the pulse of a critically ill patient. It's very important that you do that. As motivational speaker Jim Rohn said, casualness brings casualties. How to start. Before you get into a business, study and learn it in every detail. Work in the business, at least for a day or two. Work on the weekends. Work in the evenings and work for free. Just say, I'd like to learn about the business. Can I work for free? People won't turn you down. They'll say, sure, come on in. Once you're in, ask, why do you do this? Why do you do that? How does this work? Many people have tried out a business this way. After a few hours or few days, they'll say, this is not the business for me. Or, I like this business. I think I can do it well. Subscribe to the publications in your business field and read them. Go to the conferences and trade shows and attend the talks given by the best people. I have a friend who came over from England as an immigrant. And to get by, he sold advertising space for a small publication. It went broke. He went to go work for another publication, which also went broke. He said, I could publish a magazine. He looked around. People had asked him, why isn't there a magazine on sports and fishing in the state? He thought, I'll start a magazine on sports. He started a little magazine and he began to sell advertising. That was his skill. He had people write up the stories while he sold the advertising. About a year into this project, my friend was a little guy with his little publication working out of his house and just getting by. He went to a conference for a magazine publisher in New York and attended a lecture on accounting for spa publications. The speaker said, when you take your statement of accounts and you have your sales at the top, then you have all your expenses and you deduct those. What is this line called at the bottom of the page? Everybody said, that's your bottom line. What does that represent? That represents your profits or losses. Yes, this is how most people do it. I want you to do it differently. I want you to flip it over. Make your bottom line your top line. Across the top, write the profits that you intend to make each month. Below that, write the sales that you'll have to make to generate those profits, and then the costs that you'll incur. Start with your profits rather than ending up with them, if you're lucky. My friend walked out of that lecture and never looked back. Today he owns 29 publications. He's a multimillionaire, one of the most respected people in the country. He's never lost money in a single month on any publication, which is unheard of in the magazine industry. It was all because of that one lecture that he attended at that one conference from that one accountant who had that one idea. I tell you this story because you never know where that idea is going to come from. You have to expose yourself to a lot of good ideas. You've got to go where the ideas are. If you want to catch a fish, fish where the fish are. If you want to learn how to run your business well, go to where other people in your field are talking about how to run your business well. Read, listen, learn, talk, and ask for advice. Expand out of your profits. Start small and expand out of your profits. Somebody might say, I can't get a bank loan to start a business. Of course you can't. Banks do not lend money to business startups. Neither do venture capitalists. Nobody gives money to startups. 99% of all new business are funded by love money. Love money is your own money because you love your idea, and money from your friends and relatives because they love you. Therefore, start small with a little money, sell something, make a profit, and then do it again. A great way to start a business, millions of people have done this and become wealthy, is in network marketing. Network marketing offers wonderful products and services, health, beauty, home care products, and so on. They are usually of very high quality. Instead of selling them through retail outlets, which have to be supplied by wholesale outlets, which have to be supplied by jobbers, companies take the money that they would normally pay in commissions and markups and give it to the network marketing chain. They can pay as much as 40, 50, or 60% of the total retail price. They'll pay it back to the people who sell it one person at a time. Network marketing is now a $140 billion business worldwide and growing like brushfire. You can start with a few $100s. You can grow your business out of your own results, out of your own sweat equity. That's a great place to start. The critical thing about network marketing is to sell something that you like, that you believe in, that you use yourself and benefit from, and that you feel that other people would enjoy and benefit from as well. If you can do that, you'll be a great salesperson for your product. Learn the ropes. You can also start in someone else's business and learn the ropes. Interested in getting a Burger King franchise? You have to work for 400 hours in a Burger King. After you've applied for the franchise, you have to work at every single part of the business until you are immersed in a hamburgerology. Yes, they call it that. And say, yes, this is the business I want to be in. Enormous numbers of people who say, I want a Burger King franchise, bail after they've worked in an outlet because they realize it isn't right for them. The best time to find out that a business deal is wrong for you is before you get into it. Once you get started, use brains and energy rather than capital and investment to get going. Whenever you possibly can, use creativity, intelligence, hard work, character, and personality rather than investing money. A couple of years ago, on the way to a talk I was giving to 1,000 potential entrepreneurs, I stopped by a bookstore and found a book called 1001 Businesses You Can Start for Less Than $100. There was page after page after page. People say to me, I don't have enough money to start a business, but there are over 1,000 businesses you can start for less than $100 and grow out of your own efforts. The key to success in every business is sales ability, and sales ability is learnable. You can have an average company with an average product, and you can have an average background, but if you're a great salesperson, you're going to be rich. You could have the best product and market and demand, but if you're not skilled in sales, you'll worry about money all your life. Create a business plan before you start. A business plan asks you a whole series of questions about your product, customers, market, financing, advertising, promotion, production, service, standards, accounting, and everything else. It forces you to ask the critical questions that will make or break your business. By the way, you can just go on the internet, download a business plan template, and fill in the blanks. Many people put together a business plan and realize, I thought this was a great business idea, but I can't get there from here. Now that I've answered these questions, it's not a good idea at all. There are not enough customers to pay the price I have to charge. There are not enough customers that I can get to switch from what they're currently using. A business plan helps you think these things through before it's too late. Once you start, focus 80% of your time on sales and marketing. Forget about accounting. Forget about bookkeeping. Forget about packing boxes. Forget about loading trucks. Spend 80% of your time hammering away at the market. This is more important than anything else. Practice frugality in all things. Successful business people are very cheap. Unsuccessful business people throw their money around. During the dot-com, dot-bomb explosion in Silicon Valley, people were getting enormous amounts of venture capital funding before they even had a company going. They blew the money on incredible things. One group of entrepreneurs put together a dot-com company. They decided to raise capital by having an extravaganza in Las Vegas, and they invited venture capitalists from all over the country. They spent $13 million on a one-night extravaganza, even though they had only $14 million to start with. They bankrupted the company, and the owner went to jail for embezzlement. Be really tight with your money. Get used furniture and equipment. Use secondhand offices. Buy things very carefully, only when you need them, and only in the quantity that you require right now. Act as though your business is on the verge of bankruptcy all the time, and look for ways to keep your costs low and tight. Finally, learn from every mistake and experience. You'll find that all business is trial and error. When you start a new business, you'll make an enormous number of mistakes. That's to be expected. Stop after every experience and say, what have we learned from this? What is this telling us that will help us to be better and smarter next time? When you talk about the lessons, everybody will be positive, everybody's dimmer switch will go on full, and people become more creative. As I suggested earlier, use the two magic questions. What did we do right in this situation? What would we do differently next time? Borrowing from the bank. Everybody talks about borrowing from the bank. The first thing you have to know is that banks survive and thrive by making good loans to customers who will pay them back promptly. Please understand this. When you talk to a banker, the banker does not see you as a person, but as a source of revenues for the bank. The bank lends you the money at a higher rate than they pay. The success or failure of the person across the counter is determined by whether or not they have made good loans. If they have made good loans, they get promoted. If they make bad loans, they get fired and blackballed from the banking industry. When a banker is looking at you, they're very cautious. Bankers, as you can imagine, are not high-risk people. In fact, banks are not in the business of taking risks. When they evaluate a loan, as a banker once told me, they look at 5 things, the 5 C's. Number 1, credit rating. They can turn to their computer, put in your name, and get your credit rating from 3 sourcing companies in 2 seconds. And they can print it out. Your credit rating tells them how much they can lend you or not, based on bank regulations, and how much they have to charge you for the loan. Sometimes it can be quite high. That's why your credit rating is personal. Be fastidious about your credit rating, because it's the starting point of every cent that you borrow for the rest of your life. Number 2, collateral, other assets. I went to a bank once to borrow money for my company. They said, "What else have you got?" "What do you mean, what else?" I said. "My company." "No, we don't look at your company as an asset, because if your company is not successful, it will have no value. We want to know if you've got a house, a car, investments in property, and so on." They wanted a list of every single asset that I had before they would lend me any money. The bank wants collateral well in excess of the amount that you are asking to borrow for your business. In fact, this banker told me that when someone comes to the bank for the first time, they want $5 of collateral for every dollar they lend, just in case things go wrong. Number 3, cash flow. Bankers want to know all the money that you have coming into your company and all the other sources of cash flow that can be used to service the debt. They aren't just concerned about your company. They want to know how much your wife makes and how much you have coming in from an insurance policy or an investment or bond. They want every penny on the table. Number 4, commitment. How much of your own money have you invested? How much do you have on the table? If you haven't put in all of your own money, they'll be reluctant to lend you any of theirs. Number 5. The last thing bankers look for is your character, your reputation. Do you have a good reputation? Are you known in the community as a person who pays their debts? Very often, the size of your character will overwhelm all the others. If people know that no matter what happens, you always pay your debts, they will be much more willing to lend you money. Good chemistry. Visit several banks if necessary to find a banker who will work for you. It's just like when you decide to get married. Make sure that you've got good chemistry. When you decide to work with a bank, make sure you get along really well with the banker. You may have to go out on several dates before you find the right one. Then keep your banker informed of any changes. If there's ever a time when you cannot pay your bills, let the banker know. Invest a lot of time and effort to build the relationship and then make sure the relationship stays solid. Here's the rule. Bankers hate surprises. They hate to find out that you cannot make your monthly payments or interest or principal. They need to know about it well in advance. I got into some serious trouble some years ago, and I found that a bank loan is always current as long as the interest is paid. I had been committed to paying principal and interest every month, so I went to the banker and said, "Look, I've got a bit of a shortfall here, but I will maintain the interest payments." He said, "That's okay, we understand that." Banks understand that companies have problems. I have always kept my interest current, and I always kept my credit rating above 800. So if you run into trouble and you can't make principal and interest payments, offer at least to make interest. Protecting your assets. The rule is, if you have money, you're going to get sued. There are thousands of lawyers who make their money by trolling. They look for anybody anywhere who has money that they can be sued for any reason. If you get sued, even with the most ridiculous lawsuit, you have to defend against it. You can't say, "I'm just going to ignore it." No, if you get sued, you have to get your own lawyer and you have to fight it. The best piece of advice I've learned from the experts in asset protection is to form a family limited partnership, a FLP. You use this to act as a firewall around your assets. You throw all of your assets over the wall so that they are protected inside. You transfer all your assets, your home, your car, your business, everything into the FLP, which is owned by you and the members of your family. Have your life insurance policy owned by a separate life insurance trust so it's untouchable. Draw up a will that allocates your estate clearly and update it annually. Don't leave anything to chance with regard to a will. To protect your assets, insure sufficiently. Make sure that you have fire, theft, liability, flood, and health insurance. Have insurance for anything that you can't write a check to cover. Many people will actually lose everything because they insured improperly. Finally, use a good lawyer to draw up proper contracts, trusts, wills, and business agreements. I got into a legal problem some years ago which led to a lawsuit that dragged on for 2 or 3 years and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I went to a lawyer and showed him the contract I was being sued for. He said, "Brian, who drew up this contract?" I said, "I did." He said, "Brian, don't be so cheap next time. Spend a few hundred or a few $1,000s to have a lawyer go over it. Because they know where all the bodies are buried. They know the little sub-clauses that can trip you up and make you vulnerable to a lawsuit. Brian, don't ever be cheap like this again." I never was. Boy, does it make a difference. Pay a few dollars for a lawyer to protect you.